with number 28. So in 28, you're given, or you're told that each of 200 people in a random sample of 2,500 people at the mall today was asked which, if any, of the following types of pets he or she owns. It's a bird, cat, dog, or fish. All 200 people answered the questions. The answers were tallied, and the exact percents of people who own the pets are shown in the diagram below. Because this was a random sample, the percents in the sample are the most likely estimates for the corresponding percents among all the people at the mall today. What estimate does this give for the number of people at the mall today who own dogs but none of the other three types of pets? So I just want them to own dogs. I look back at the diagram, the dogs only is this 15%. So they're asking me of the people at the mall today. So people at the mall today, they're not the 200, they're actually 2,500 people at the mall today. So I'll go back down here and do 15% on a calculator times 2,500. What was the answer? ممكن حد يقول؟
375.
Perfect. 375, which is in this case H. حلو. Moving on. Number 29. What percent of the people in the random sample who own exactly one type of the four types of pets? So I'll go back to the graph again and I'll check عايز بس one type, which means I have to remove this part out of the whole story. I'm not going to count this. I'm not going to count this. I'm not going to count anything that's common between two circles. I'll just count all the others. So once you add all of those percentages, it's 45 plus 5 plus 5 plus 15. That's a total of 70%. That gives D. We're good?
Yes.
برضو moving to the next. طيب number 30 بيقول لي suppose 25 additional people at random were asked the question which of the following answers with the following answers 15 own fish, 5 own cat and a dog only, and 5 own a cat and a dog, own a cat, a dog, and a bird only. Among all 225 people asked, what fraction owns fish but none of the other three types of pets? So عايز fish بس 15. ال 15 دول من ال 25 people that I've asked, add to those 15 هنشوف في كام حد من ال 200 اللي كانوا موجودين في الأول actually said they owned fish بس. So you go back here, you'll notice إنه fish بس يعني 45%. 45% من مين؟ 45% من 200 اللي هم the people asked, which will give me 90. So I have actually already 90 people who said they own fish only. Add to those the new 15 out of the total اللي هم 225. This would get me 105 divided by 225, which means that the answer here is F. Does that make sense?
أنا عملته كده بالظبط.
Perfect. Now we're moving away from the information and it's a new question. Apparently and clearly قبل ما أقرأ أي حاجة في السؤال I should notice that this is an exterior angle. احنا قلنا exterior is equals to the two non-adjacent interior angles. I just need you to notice this. This doesn't mean إن لازم هتتعمل. It's important to know. They're asking for the measure of angle B اللي هي الانجل اللي أنا عامل عليها X أصلا. So I have two ways to go through this. The easiest is to first find Y. How can I find Y? الاتنين angles دول على بعض create a straight angle. So it means إنه ال 4Y plus the 11Y على بعض they should be equals to 180. Which means 15Y is equals to 180. Which then means that the Y is equals to 180 divided by 15 يعني 12. Because I know that the Y is 12, I know that this angle now is 4 times 12, which means this angle is 48 degrees. I know this and I know this. I can easily find the third. I'll do 180 minus 43 and minus 48. That would get you 89 as the correct answer. This is the angle B. Any questions?
No.
32 is a pure application of the formula of the circle. I'll just remind you of them. They're written in two brackets. One of them has X and the other one has Y. And both brackets have to be to the power of 2. And they're equals to the number that's outside here is considered the radius squared already. So the center in this case is supposed to be this number with the opposite sign and that number with the opposite sign. So I'll take this with the opposite sign, that's positive root 5 and positive 1 as the center, which gives me F as the correct answer right away. If I'm asked to find the radius, it is the square root of 1, which is 1. If I'm asked to find the radius. Anoki wants to determine the height of a vertical lighthouse shown below. He measures the angle of elevation to the top of the light, مش عارف A13. Looking at it, they need to know which of the following expressions gives the best approximation of the height of the lighthouse. You need to know this. So you'll ask yourself على طول طالما عندي right triangle وفي angles and sides, this is definitely sine أو cosine أو tan. Clearly the opposite height that is considered the opposite, while this one is considered the adjacent. So what includes or has the which trigonometric ratio has the opposite and adjacent? It's the tan. So we'll write that the tan of 31 is supposed to be equals to the opposite, which is an unknown. Let's say it's x over the adjacent اللي هو 103. If I'd like to find x, I should move 103 to the other side by multiplication. So it becomes 103 times tan 31. This is the expression that would get me the answers. When you look at the answers, you don't even have to calculate it. It's as it is كده E. Easy برضه صح؟
Yes.
When graphed in the standard XY coordinate plane, the graph of one of the following linear equations is line parallel to the x-axis. If I have a line that is parallel to the x-axis, it means that it has a slope of 0. Other than that, other than the fact that it has a slope of 0, the equation of that line will be y equals a number. On the other hand, لو أنا بتكلم على vertical line, a line parallel to the y-axis, in this case, the slope of that line will be undefined. And the equation of that line would be x equals a number. So because they said it's parallel to the x-axis, it means that the equation has to be y equals something. So it's y equals 4. And it can't include any x's whatsoever. برضو a very easy one. Another one that's considered linear or easy. Let 2x plus 3y equals 12 be the equation of the line in the xy coordinate plane. Line P, that's another line. It has a slope that is 2 times the slope of L. So I'll stop here. First, let's find the slope of L. Because this equation is written in the standard form, the slope of this one is negative the number next to the x over the number next to the y. This is the actual slope. Because line P, which is another line, has a slope that is 2 times L. So I'll do 2 times negative 2 over 3. That's the new slope, negative 4 over 3. This is the slope of P. let's continue with the question. It has a y-intercept that is 3 less than the y-intercept of L. So I have to also find the y-intercept, and the y-intercept would be C over B, which in this case is 12 over 3. Yani the y-intercept is 4. I have now the y-intercept. Apparently the y-intercept of the other one is 3 less than that. Yani 4 minus 3, which will get me 1. And this will be now the y-intercept of P. Looking at the choices, there's only one equation that has a slope of negative 4 over 3 and a y-intercept of 1, so that's definitely the correct answer. Any question?
Mister
Yes, يا قمر.
أنا تلخبطت في السلوب بس أنا عرفت الواي انترسبت.
So لما بيكون عندي الايكويشن مكتوبة بالمنظر اللي هو x و y في نفس الناحية، عشان اجيب السلوب it's negative the number next to the x over the number next to the y. It's negative this coefficient over this. So you'll take this 2 بعكس الساين, it becomes negative 2 over this number ال 3 بنفس الساين. That's how we got the slope. Because they said it is 2 times the slope of L, so I just did 2 times negative 2 over 3, which got me this negative 4 over 3. Does that make sense شوية?
أصل أيوة أصل السلوب عندي كان جايلي نيجاتيف 2 over 3 فأنا قلت هو جاب نيجاتيف 4 over 3 منين؟ ده كان بس السؤال.
ايوه negative 4 over 3 دي اللي هي الحتة بتاعت ان هو قال لي انه it's 2 times the slope.
ماشي.
وبعدين هنا قال لي 3 less than the intercept. So that's why what I did here. Okay? Perfect. Yeah, all right. Type 36. We very recently, I think, discussed the period of the tan function. And I just like to quickly remind you of the sine and the cosine and the tan. So if this is the cosine function, the period of that function is 2 pi over absolute b. It's 2 pi over this number multiplied by the x, while the frequency would be the reciprocal, يعني absolute b over 2 pi. There is one thing missing اللي هو الامبليتيود ده اللي باقي. الامبليتيود is absolute النمبر اللي بره خالص. Now التان ده it's the same for the sine and the cosine functions. It's the same exact rules. إنه الساين والكوساين functions are very similar to each other. الساين function wave بتعدي من عند 0 وتطلع ل 1 وتنزل ل negative 1, while the cosine function wave بتعدي من عند 1 وتنزل برضه ل negative 1 وتطلع ل 1. So it's almost exactly the same, بس واحدة بتبتدي في مكان تاني عن التانية. That's why these 3 rules in all of them are the same. Now the tan is a different story. The tan is written in this formula: a tan of bx برضو plus c plus d. The graph of this becomes a wave that is very separate كده than each other. It's like waves ملهاش علاقة ببعض, not connected with each other. All of them ما بينهم في حاجة اسمها vertical asymptotes. Now to find the period of the tan function, it would become pi بس over b, absolute برضو b. So pi over b would be the period, which means then that the frequency would still be the reciprocal, absolute b over pi. Now it does not have an amplitude on the other. We don't call this one an amplitude for now. You'll never be asked for the amplitude in a tan function. You'll be asked for the period or the frequency. Because here we're given already y equals tan x, which means you already are given the function, and you're asked to find the period, you know right away that the b, or the number that is supposed to be multiplied by the x, is 1, which then means that the period is supposed to be pi over 1. Pi over 1 is just pi. Looking at the choices, H is the correct answer. There's one other way to figure out the period. The period is the distance between the intercepts. يعني it is this distance here. Between the 2 points where the graphs intersected the x-axis, أو between these اسمهم turning points. So it's the same distance هنا pi ومن هنا لهنا pi ومن هنا لهنا pi. That's what we call the period. Any questions? In a certain rectangle, the ratio of the two adjacent sides is 5:2. I'll write the ratio in this form 5:2. And because في rectangle adjacent sides واحد اسمه length والتاني اسمه width, I'll just call them this way. بيقول لي the area of the rectangle is 90 square inches. So how do I find the area? The area is supposed to be length times width. They told me that the length times width is 90. That's the actual area. They need to know what could be the length of the longer side. So here's how we think about it. We're going to say, how do I find a ratio for the area? The area الريشيو بتاعتها المفروض تكون as we said length times width, and because the ratio length فيها ب 5 والwidth فيها ب 2, 5 times 2 would get me the area بتاعت الرatios. But the actual area is 90, so I can now put in 90 تحت area ratio of the area, or area of the ratio, sorry. And then now if I'm asked to find the length, I'll cross multiply this way. 5 times 90 divided by 10. لو كنت عايز أجيب width كانت هتبقى 90 times 2 divided by 10. That would become 45. E is the correct answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. بس لازم نتفق قبل ما انت تو. ممكن أجرب حاجة معلش ثانية واحدة. No, it's incorrect.
Mister.
Yep, it's incorrect.
The answer كان إجابة C.
أنا بقول لك لأ, it's incorrect. So why is it incorrect? لأنه الاريا المفروض تكون a different unit. So لو أنا مشيت بدي زي ما أنا قلت كده, if you try to find the width هتلاقوا ال width 18. طب ما هو 18 times 45 ما يدينيش 90. So how do we do this? احنا we're not going to get a ratio for the area. We're going to get an expression for the area. يعني ايه؟ يعني we'll say طيب we don't know لا length ولا width. Let's assume مثلا ان length بx. هو ده اللي احنا عايزين نفايند اصلا. So what would be the width? المفروض اعمل cross multiplication. فتبقى width ساعتها بx times 2 divided by 5 يعني 2x over 5. Now I know that the length is x. Or I assumed it's x, and the width is 2x over 5. If I'd like to find the area is supposed to be length times width. The length, as we said, is x, and the width is 2x over 5. Let's multiply these two, and it would get me 2x squared over 5. This is what's equals to 90. هو قال in an area of 90. Let's find x now. 5 would go to the other side by multiplication, so 2x squared will be equals to 450, and then I'll divide this by 2, so x squared will be equals to 225, and then I'll do the square root of 225, which will get me 15. 15 is the actual length, not this. Does that make sense? Are we okay so far? Do we need to re-explain this?
That's fine.
Okay. Number 38. بيقول لي Josie rode her bicycle 4 kilometers at a constant speed, beginning and ending at her home. A graph with the distance traveled plotted along the y-axis and elapsed time during the ride plotted along the x-axis was constructed for the values of y from 0 kilometers to 4 kilometers. The shape of the graph can be described as it's a line, a horizontal line. لما يكون she rode, لا مش horizontal line, sorry, a line with a positive slope. She rode, أنا عندي x y axis x axis represent time, while y axis represent kilometers. If she's driving at a constant speed, يعني as the time goes, the kilometers will keep increasing with the same rate. So that's why this has to be a positive slope line. As we're increasing on time, we're also increasing on the kilometers at a constant rate. لو ما كانتش constant rate كنت هلاقيها بتطلع كده شوية وبعدين تطلع كده مايلة شوية وبعدين تطلع قوي وبعدين تطلع مايلة سيكا وبعدين تطلع تاني. This is not a constant rate. A constant rate would look like a line with a positive slope. Why is it a positive slope? لأنه it's a speed positive. مستحيل يكون السبيد بتاعتنا بالنيجاتيف، ف it has to be a positive slope. بتزيد الديستنس اللي أنا أو by the time increasing الكيلومترز اللي بكفر as well بتincrease. ما دام ده بيزيد وده بيزيد يبقى it's positive slope. Does this make sense ولا لأ؟
Yes.
The area of this figure, you're given already a different weird shape, so split it. I would split it مثلا this way. The area of this part, this 1/4 يعني 1.25. Well, this is also برضو 1.25. So 1.25 times 1.25, that's 1.5625. Let's get the area of this bigger one. It's 2 times this is 1.25 and this is another 1.25. يعني this whole side is 2.5. So it's 2 times 2.5 يعني 5. I just need to add 5 plus 1 point whatsoever. It's definitely 6 point something. B is supposed to be the correct answer. برضو easy. Number 40. This point will be reflected over the y-axis. Whenever I reflect over the y-axis, I change the x-coordinate sign. So the new one will become positive 3 and negative 1. I only change the x-coordinate. So positive 3 and negative 1 is k. It's a very easy question. في وسط أسئلة ممكن ساعات تبقى رخمة. So عشان كده بنقول إن don't start losing hope أول ما الأسئلة مثلا تبقى صعبة شوية. ممكن اللي بعده يكون تافه أهو. It's a guaranteed question. This is an equation of an inequality of a line ax plus b. We were told that a is supposed to be positive while b is negative. يعني السلوب بتاعي positive, which means that the line has to go along the Nike sign. يعني ممكن ده positive وممكن ده positive، بس b مثلا مش positive، مستحيل b يكون the answer. نفس الكلام for e مش positive، مستحيل تكون the answer، و c مش positive so مستحيل تكون the answer. لو عملنا النايكي sign هيعملوا x مع the line. So we've eliminated the choices. تاني حاجة قال لي ال y-intercept must be negative. لو ال y-intercept negative يعني المفروض يقطع ال y-axis في حتة negative. This is the one that has a y-intercept negative, but this one has y-intercept that's positive. It's definitely D خلاص. Because y is bigger than or equals, then this is the reason why we shaded فوق a line, above the line, because y is bigger than. Whenever we have a fraction equals another fraction, we have to cross multiply. So it's now 4 multiplied by the 2x minus y equals 3 multiplied by the x plus y. We'll start distributing the 4 and you'll get 8x minus 4y equals 3x once you distribute it plus 3y. I'll try to put the x's on one side and the y's on the other side. So I'll move this here and I'll move this there. 8x minus 3x, that's now 5x. And now 3 plus 4, this is 7y. Because I'm trying to find x over y, please don't get quickly tricked in thinking it is supposed to be 5 over 7. مش معنى ان x جنبها 5 ان معنى كده ان x ب5. This is not true. Actually the answer is هتبقى opposite. x over the y will become 7 over the 5. لأن what we're trying to do is we're going to move the 5 to the other side by division ونmove the y to the other side برضو by division. So it will become x over the y and it will be equals to 7 over the 5. That's k. Any questions here? These two triangles are similar. في similarity I told you إنه we always start by looking على ال corresponding sides. يعني إيه corresponding sides؟ يعني السايدز اللي المفروض تكون زي بعض. يعني مين في التريانجل اللي على اليمين المفروض يكون زيه في التريانجل اللي على الشمال. So how do we figure them out? We actually figure them out using the names of the triangles themselves. Because they said it's ABC similar to DEF, then لو أنا مثلا بتكلم على AB عايز أعرف مين اللي زي AB، اللي زيه هيبقى أول two letters برضو DE. لو عايز أعرف مين اللي زي مثلا BC يبقى اللي زيه هيكون EF. لو عايز أعرف مين اللي زي AC اللي زيه هيكون DF. So because here you ask to find EF, you'll first start by looking هو مين اللي زي السايد اللي اسمه DF. ال 7 مين اللي corresponding ليها؟ Apparently DF يعني ده اللي هو the D with the F. So the similar would be AC. AC اللي هو this one. دول الاثنين similar. You'll start by one side من التريانجل الصغير over اللي زيه في التريانجل الكبير. It needs to be equals. أي سايد تاني من التريانجل الصغير يعني let's assume it's FE اللي معرفوش over اللي زيه في التريانجل الكبير FE اللي زيه هيكون BC. So it's 5. If I'd like to find x, I'll cross multiply, then x will be equals to 7 times 5 divided by 8 يعني 35 over 8. 35 over 8 on a calculator should become I think 4 3 over 8. I'm not sure. I think 4 3 over 8. Yes, 4 3 over 8. So shift SD on the calculator, it would change it to a fraction. Any question? An extraction, sorry. Any questions?
No.
Perfect. A person's body mass index. الquestions دي مهمة إن إحنا نقرأ فيها اللترز معناها إيه. قال لي body mass index varies directly. This is a keyword. As something and then varies inversely as something else. So it varies directly as something and inverse as something. Let's discuss direct and inverse. The direct variation has a specific form and the inverse variation has another form. When something is directly variated as something else يعني لو ال x وال y are directly variated معناها إن لما واحد بيزيد التاني بيزيد برضه، أو لما واحد بيقل التاني بيقل. إنما inverse لما واحد بيزيد التاني بيقل، لما واحد بيقل التاني بيزيد، عكس بعض. So الدايركت ليها فورم معينة، الفورم بتاعتها هي y equals kx. يعني لو الواي والاكس directly variated معناه ان الواي equals حاجة times الاكس. while لو هما inversely variated هتبقى الواي equals حاجة divided الاكس. So because in this question they said البارت الأولاني إنه the body mass index اللي هو ال BMI varies يعني equals varies directly يبقى K times something. Varies directly as إيه؟ As the weight اللي هو ال W. So خلاص أدي KW كده عملت ال vary directly. And at the same time inversely يعني it should be equals K over something. Inversely as mean as the square of the height. So ال height بس squared يعني to the power of 2. Looking at the choices, this is choice G. KW over H squared. Direct بيكون y equals حاجة times ال x while the inverse بيكون y equals حاجة divided ال x. Because it varies directly I multiplied by the w but inversely as the square I divided by the square of the height. I think it's a pretty easy birthday question. 45. In the circle shown below, the radius AC is 15 inches long and مش عارف BE is 10, AC is perpendicular and so on. General important information لما بيكون عندي أي radius وعندي حاجة اسمها chord اللاين ده اسمه كورد. كورد يعني لاين معدي جوه السيركل بس مش معدي في السنتر. والراديوس هو اي لاين من السنتر لحد السيركمفرنس اوف ذا سيركل. سو لما بيكون عندي راديوس وكورد perpendicular كده على بعض، الراديوس بيسبلت the chord into two equal parts. يعني this part is equals to this part. Because they said BE is 10, it means that this part اللي هنا ده بس is 5. This part is 5 and the other one is 5. And because they said that the radius is 15, then I know yes إنه AC is 15. بس مش مهم قوي بالنسبة لي AC. There is another thing to look at إنه أنا ممكن أوصل هنا radius. ما هو ده برضو يعتبر radius. لو أنا وصلت من point A up until point E كده، this is also a radius. الراديوس ده اللي هو من أول هنا لحد هنا طوله 15. They said that the radii are 15. كل الراديوس 15. When you look now at it, it seems like a right triangle. Right triangle عامل كده، وادي هنا الهايبوتنس given ب 15 والسايد ده ب 5، وانا عايز اجيب AD اللي هو السايد ده بكام. So the Pythagoras theorem gets to be used على طول. الهايبوتنس itself to the power of 2 minus the other side to the power of 2 under the square root, it would get you the answer as 10 root 2 E. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This is a very important concept. فكرة إنه لما بيكون عندي كورد ولاين قاطعين بعض كده perpendicular على بعض they split the chord into two. دي أول حاجة. تاني حاجة مهمة جدا فكرة إنه ده كمان ممكن أوصله أنا، أعمله أنا كده dotted line. ده radius برضو، ده برضو طوله 15. طيب 46. You're given this shape and you're asked to find من الآخر ال surface area، يعني ال area of the whole shape. When you look at it carefully, it is split into a square and then 4 triangles اللي هم دول الأربعة قد بعض. Let's discuss the length of or the area of the square first. How do I find the area of the square? It is supposed to be side times side. I can use this point and this point to get the distance of this line. How do I do that? By subtracting the x coordinates بس. يعني لو عملت 12 minus 2, I know that the side here is 10, so this is 10. So the area of the side, the square, is 10 times 10, which means that the area is 100. I now have the area of the square as 100. I need to get the area now of the triangle, and then I'll multiply that by 4 because I have 4 triangles. The area of a triangle is supposed to be half times base times height. And now let's figure out what's the base. The base is right here. That's 10. I already figured it out. So what's the height? The height is this distance here, which is the length or the difference between the y coordinates of these 2 points. يعني لو عملت هنا 23 minus 11 أنا كده هجيب الهايت which is 12. Now half times 10 times 12 will give me 60. So each one of those is 60, which means 60 multiplied by 4 is 240. These are the triangles. Add to the triangles the 100, which is the square, and you'll get the total area is 340, which means it is G. An interesting question. آخر حاجة عشان البتاع هيفصل. The side lengths of the flat مش عارف مين. This is the tricky part. We'll get the area. لا عم هبعت لكم لينك تاني please وجوين معلش. هحطه على جوجل كلاس. اوكي معلش I had to معلش جاتش بس I won't take long بس الكويستشن ده حلو يعني في تريك كده صغيرة مهمة. اوكي بس ثانية أتأكد إن هاجر والجوين ولا لأ. طب يلا مش هنكونتينيو. So I'll get the area الأول of this area shape عشان أعرف. There are two ways to do this. You can either get the area as a trapezoid يعني look at it as a trapezoid أو you can get the area by splitting this into two different parts. So if you split it as a triangle and a rectangle, this would be 16 times 12, which is that's 192. And then the triangle is half times base times height, half times 24 times 20. That's 240. So this is 240. So the whole area is 192 plus لا مش 240 sorry. أو لا 240 لا كمان أنا عملت حاجة غلط. The area is supposed to be of the triangle half times base times height. The height is 16 actually, while the base is this distance here. Because this part is 12, then this distance here is 12 as well. So it's half times 12 times 16. That's 96. So this area is 96. I should add both of them to get the area of the whole shape. That's 192 plus 96, 288. 288 is the area. Now let's think back. They said that the one quart, each quart of paint can cover an area of 90 square feet. So I'll divide 288 by 90 to know the number of quarts needed. 288 divided by 90, it would get me 3.2 quarts. Now they said a very important sentence here, هي دي التريك اللي في الموضوع إنه it is sold only by the full quart. يعني ما ينفعش اشتري 3.2 quarts، لازم اشتري غصبا عني 4 quarts على الأقل to cover this. So عشان اشتري 4 quarts وأنا عارف إن الكويت الواحد costs $8. This means that the cost of this whole thing would be 8 multiplied by 4. يعني $32 is the overall cost to paint this. It's not 25 point something. Most people would take the 3.2 and do it times 8 and it would give you 25 point something. So you would pick 24 and that's incorrect. Does that make sense يا جماعة? Perfect. Sorry that it took me longer than expected. See you inshallah tomorrow next class and good night.
Bye.
Bye يا حبايبي.